Hello and welcome back to the Listening Lounge. My name is Nick Day, CEO of JGA Recruitment Group, specialist HR and payroll recruiters. Today I'm joined by Dr. Steve Yacovelli, aka the Gay Leadership Dude. Now, he's an award-winning author, speaker, and catalyst for inclusive leadership, both in and out of the workplace. Now, Dr. Steve Yacovelli is also an entrepreneur. He founded TopDog Learning Group, LLC in 2008, and he's a thought leader in leadership, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, as well as change management, all things we're going to get right into during the course of this podcast. Now, Steve and TopDog have worked with Fortune 500 greats ranging from the Walt Disney Company and Bayer to amazing not-for-profits like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he does that to help clients to grow, to develop, to expand, and most importantly, to really help drive and bring forward their corporate learning in relation to diversity and inclusion objectives. And with over 25 years experience in this sector, Steve is a rare breed of professional that understands the power of using academic theory and then applying it to the corporate setting to achieve business results. He's also authored 2 books. One of those is an award-winning book called Pride Leadership, Strategies for the LGBTQ plus leader to be the king or queen of their jungle. Steve, how are you doing today?
Good, Nick, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Very excited to have you on board. So look, let's start at the beginning. Tell us all a little bit more, tell all audience members a little bit more about how you've got to this point in your career and how you've become known as the Gay Leadership Dude. Please find out more.
Yeah, so it's funny because, I think like so many people who are listening, you don't plan your career to be, I'm going to be in training or whatever your field is. I actually started my training career in software training. And so I happened to be a user of this software, and it was basically a precursor to CRM, customer relationship management. And to date myself, it was actually DOS based. So for those listening who know what that is, you know how old I am. If you're like, what's that? It's pre-Windows, friends. So it's old. But I really was good at it. I could really help the learners understand not only how to push the buttons, but use the data for strategy. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I ended up going and pursuing my master's degree in leadership development, and I kind of made the evil switch to soft skills, and I've never looked back ever since. It's been a fantastic journey, and I had the opportunity to work internal to places, as you said, like Disney. I worked for the cruise line for many years as an internal leadership consultant. I was an IBMer for a while, but there was this gorgeous running thread that kind of led me to today, and it's always just helping people, specifically leaders, just be more awesome than they already are, whether that be in their communication, in dealing with others, building team, whatever that looks like. That's kind of always been my jam.
Fantastic. I love the way that you talked about moving over to like the dark side almost. We talk about soft skills, right? Soft skills are more important, I think, in the new world of work than they've ever been before. Right? As a recruiter, I would always say it's the one skill you can take with you in any career, right? That you only build on those skills. So we'll deep dive into some of those a little bit later on. But you obviously, I mentioned in the introduction, you launched TopDog Learning Group in 2008. You have gone on to have some pretty considerable success. I mean, I approached you to be on this podcast. I looked at your work and went, right, this would be a great guest for me. So on your website, you do talk about how you are professionals, you're thinkers, you're strategists, and you're there, as you mentioned a moment ago, to make everyone a little bit more awesome than they already are. So what has been your biggest success to date? And yeah, it'd be great if you could give us maybe a case study or a live example of someone you've worked with to make them be a little bit more awesome.
I would say that my biggest success is that I launched in 2008, which is a horrible time to launch a business in the global economy.
Same here, by the way. Yeah.
Right, and then here we are post-pandemic, and I'm still standing, and so I would think that's kind of like my big success, just to survive 13 years as my full-time jam. But from a client-centric perspective, the first thing that pops into mind is many years ago we had the opportunity to do an inclusive leadership program for. This is a large North American restaurant conglomerate. So they own a whole bunch of casual dining chains throughout the US and Canada. And they first approached us to say, hey, we'd like to do some like stand-up training with a little bit of sprinkled of online support. We're like, okay. And like, is that really the right approach? And so we were able to, we don't always just be order takers. We kind of like to ask our client or our client partners, why do you want that as the solution? And kind of let them share with us and then kind of direct them, either reinforce, yes, that's the right solution, or you know what, let's rethink this mix. And so we actually, in that perspective, were able to retool their thinking about the solution. So we kind of flipped it around. It became 85% virtual, and then 15% face-to-face support through a third party, usually like a regional manager or something. And it was all about inclusive leadership, and it was fantastic. And one of the coolest things about that project was that at the very first meeting, and this doesn't always happen, but the very first meeting, I asked the client partner, okay, flash forward, it's a year-ish after we launch this thing, how do you know if it works? And really having that conversation about measurement within the first 10 minutes. And I do that all the time. We do that all the time. A lot of our clients are just like, yeah, we got it covered, but they kind of don't. So this was a rare instance where the client was so on board with the data, because I'm like, you're spending a lot of money on this program for us to create it, launch it. We're teaching 6,000 leaders how to be awesome. Don't you want to know your ROI? And they're like, yes, we do. So I think that was probably one of my favorite projects. And it's actually, and this is maybe 10 years ago, it's still churning to this day, which is kind of nice.
I can totally understand the situation in 2008. We launched this business, JJ Recruitment, 2 weeks before Lehman's went under. So yeah, similar challenging circumstances. So total sympathies there. But hey, we can applaud each other. We're still going, and we're going strong, which is good.
That Elton John, I'm still standing, is still
absolutely ringing. There you go. Well on the money.
Yes.
When we talk about workplace culture, certainly in recruitment, I'm not going to call anyone out, but we see a lot of initiatives come out. We're going to suddenly change our values and behaviors, right? That's going to be a good public thing to do. It's a PR, sometimes a PR exercise, but also sometimes there's real heartfelt objective behind that, and that's great. I do feel though sometimes there's a little bit of a pander to just appease the masses by just doing certain things in your marketing, add a rainbow to your logo, whatever it might be, to be seen to be doing the right thing. How can the HR professionals listening to this make sure that the inclusive culture work that they're doing and the steps they're taking to improve workplace culture actually stay for the long term rather than just the short term? How do we make sure that we measure that to ensure that we are continually improving and reassessing our workplace cultures and our ability to be inclusive?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. I think the first step would be, okay, we want to go down this journey. How are we holding ourselves accountable to make this stick? And what does that look like? And that's senior leadership. If you look at some of the, and this is why we focus on change management, because a lot of all the stuff we do, we're not a training company. We're really a change company that uses training as one of many arrows in our quiver to help facilitate lasting change. And so when we talk about creating a conscious, inclusive workplace, you can look at some great data out there. I'm a big nerd with ProSci, which is one of many change management firms. They do a lot of great research. That's my certification. And they always look at what are the reasons why change doesn't stick in a workplace. And it seems like every single year, one of the top 5 reasons is the lack of perceived support by the senior executive team. And I emphasize that word perceived, because I've had conversations with senior executives. They're like, well, we sign the checks. We have you and your team in here, Steve. I'm like, yeah, but are you out championing the change, in this case being more inclusive? Do people see you, or is it just like, here's my email statement, sign at the dotted line, but somebody in communications wrote it, we're done. And that's not how you foster lasting change. And so starting with the accountability from all levels within the business, with all levels within the workplace, that's the best place to figure that out.
So absolutely fantastic having you on the show. Where can people find out more about you if they want to go? Obviously, any links we mentioned now will be in the episode notes. If you're listening to this, please jump through and you can click straight through. But tell us a bit more, we can find out more about what you do, who you are, and if you want to find out more.
Yeah, the easiest place to go is TopDogLearning.biz, B-I-Z. You can see about me, about my team. There's links to the books. You can even shortchange the books, and wherever you're listening from, if you go to steveonamazon.com, it'll redirect you to the Amazon of your choice, whatever the last letters for your country will be, where you can find Pride Leadership. But our website, TopDogLearning.biz, has lots of free stuff, lots of blog posts, articles. There's free training on how to beat silent collusion is one of the many things out there. So TopDogLearning.biz.
Just leaves me to say a huge thank you, Dr. Steve Yacovelli, for joining me today. It's been my absolute pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for joining me for the Listening Lounge. And remember, every good conversation starts with good listening. Till next time.